I never thought I'd be the guy sitting here, writing about how my wife, Lisa, cheated on me. We've been married for 5 years. She was always a bit of a bitchy, manipulative woman, but I loved her somehow. Or at least I convinced myself I did. Things started feeling off about a month ago, but I shrugged it off. Little things. She was more secretive with her phone, keeping it close, hiding her texts. She'd go out with friends, but her stories never quite added up. She'd say she was at some book club or a late dinner, but her stories often changed, and I found myself catching her in tiny lies more often than I liked. Then, last weekend was alumni weekend at her university. We had plans to go together, but honestly, I was feeling pretty exhausted, and I let her go alone. She always loved that place, said it was her second home, whatever that meant. She was supposed to be back late Sunday night, but she was gone all Sunday and didn't answer her phone. I thought she was probably just having fun with her old friends, like she said, and I didn't make a fuss. But then I started noticing little things the next day. Her phone was acting weird. She kept deleting messages, even more than usual, which was suspicious. I found her computer open late that night and I got curious. I didn't think much of it at first, but the moment I saw the browser history, chills ran down my spine. She'd been searching for alumni weekend affair, campus office, and professor scandal. I was stunned. I thought maybe I was reading too much into it, but the keywords felt like a punch to the gut. I went back through her recent texts, and I saw a conversation with her old professor, Dr. Martin. They'd been exchanging messages for weeks, full of flirtatious innuendos, and the last one she sent, on the Saturday she was supposedly at some dinner, was about meeting up to discuss her academic paper, which she lied about completely. The truth was, she was with him, somewhere on campus, probably in the campus office, doing who knows what. The guard caught them. I found a security report in the trash, an official record of the security guard seeing her and him in a passionate embrace. Behind the building, fucking right there in the dark. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. My wife, the woman I trusted more than anything, was screwing around with someone she called her mentor, her favorite professor, in a place she knew I'd never suspect. She lied to my face about everything. I couldn't believe it. I mean, how do you live with that betrayal? How do you even look her in the eyes again? That moment I realized I was completely blind, and I'd been living with a woman who was capable of lying to me, cheating behind my back, and not even caring about how much it hurt me. All I could think of at first was rage, then confusion, then just pure sadness. I felt stupid for trusting her, for loving someone so manipulative. I didn't say anything right away. I just sat there, staring at the screen, trying to process what I'd just seen, what I'd just learned. The next morning, I couldn't sleep. My mind kept circling back to that security report, her texts, the whole damn scene. I kept asking myself, how long has she been doing this? Was it just that weekend, or was it going on for months? I didn't want to believe it was so easy for her to lie, to cheat. But the evidence was sitting there, plain as day. And Lisa, she's always been good at lying. She's the type that can spin a web of bullshit so well you almost start to believe her own lies. But not this time. I saw through it. When she finally woke up and started acting like everything was normal, I knew I had to confront her. I didn't want to, but I couldn't just let it go. I told her I knew about her and Dr. Martin. Her eyes flicked for a second like she was caught off guard, but then she shifted into that bitchy, dismissive attitude she always had. "Oh, come on, Mike. You're overreacting. It was just a fling, a stupid mistake. It doesn't mean anything." She said she'd just been lonely, that she was stressed, and that this was just a one-time thing. She threw in the usual bullshit about how it meant nothing, that it was just sex, and that she'd never do anything to hurt me on purpose. But I wasn't buying it. I told her I'd seen enough, that her lies, her sneaking around, and that whole damn weekend in the campus office. How could she even lie about that? She looked annoyed, then defensive. She said I was being paranoid, that I was overthinking everything. She called me jealous and possessive. And then, insult to injury, she accused me of not paying enough attention to her, of not being enough for her anymore. That she needed excitement, that she was bored, and that I was boring. And that's when I lost it. I told her she was a bitch. I told her I couldn't believe I married someone so cold, so manipulative, so willing to fuck around behind my back and then lie to my face. I told her I wished I'd never married her, that I'd wasted years of my life thinking she was the one. She just shrugged and said, "Well, if you're that upset, maybe we should just end this." That comment hit me like a punch. I could see her trying to flip it around, make me look like the bad guy. But deep down I felt hollow. All the anger was there, sure, but underneath that I felt hurt. Betrayal isn't just anger, it's pain, the kind that makes you question everything. I started thinking about the good times, the promises, the plans we made. And now all I could see was her in that office with him, doing God knows what. I kept replaying that image, the security guard catching them, their bodies pressed together, her hands clutching his shirt, her face buried in his neck. It made me sick. I told her I needed some time to think, that I couldn't just forgive her right away. She scoffed and said I was overreacting, that I was being too dramatic, that she'd never do something so stupid if I was around. But I knew better. I knew she'd been lying all along, just waiting for the right moment to screw around and then lie her way out of it. And that moment was now. I felt like I was losing myself in that moment, lost in a storm of fury, heartbreak, and disbelief. I never thought I'd be here, standing in front of her, feeling like I'd been played for a fool. After that confrontation, I didn't sleep much. My mind kept racing, going over everything I saw, everything she said. I kept asking myself if I'd missed the signs, if I'd been blind all along. But there was no denying what I knew now. The girl I married was a manipulative, selfish woman who was capable of lying straight to my face, sneaking behind my back, and then dismissing me as if I was the crazy one. The betrayal hit me deep, and I felt a mixture of anger, sadness, and disgust. I decided I had to do something, but I wasn't sure what. I was furious but also hurt, and I didn't want to make a rash decision that I'd regret later. I started thinking about revenge, not in a childish way, but more like making her see what she lost. I wasn't about to let her turn this around on me, act like the victim while she'd been screwing around with her professor in some campus office. I wanted her to realize how much she'd fucked up. So I began planning. I kept quiet for a couple of days, pretending I was okay, but really I was gathering my strength. I wanted to catch her in the act again, or at least make her feel the weight of what she'd done. I started by installing a keylogger on her phone just to see if she slipped up again. It was a dirty move, I know, but she'd been lying so much, I felt like I had no choice. I also asked around about Dr. Martin, found out he'd been teaching at the university for decades, and he had a reputation for being a smooth operator. That made me even more pissed. I reached out to a private investigator I knew from work, someone who specialized in infidelity cases. I paid him to keep an eye on her, follow her if she went anywhere suspicious, and get some concrete proof. I wanted to catch her red-handed again, or at least have undeniable evidence of her cheating. Meanwhile, I kept myself busy with work and trying not to lose my mind. I couldn't tell anyone close to me. No one could know how deep this betrayal went. I didn't want to look weak, but inside I was crumbling. One evening, I was sitting in our apartment, scrolling through the photos she'd left open on her laptop, just trying to distract myself, honestly, and I saw a message she'd saved in her drafts. It was from Dr. Martin telling her to meet in the campus office tonight, and she'd replied, "I'll be there around 10. That was it, no more hiding. That was the moment I knew she was planning to meet him again. I felt my blood boil. I texted the Pi, told him to follow her that night, and waited. As the hours ticked by, I could hardly breathe. I kept thinking, this is it. I'm finally going to catch her again, or maybe I was just hoping to. I wanted her to see that her lies and manipulations had consequences. I wanted her to understand that I wasn't going to be played for a fool anymore. When the Pi finally messaged me back, saying he'd followed her to the campus and saw her slip into the office with Dr. Martin, I felt a strange mix of relief and rage. I was finally going to get the proof I needed, but I wasn't prepared for what I saw next. That's when everything changed again, something I never expected and something I'd have to face head-on. That night, I waited anxiously, my stomach in knots, staring at my phone every few minutes. I couldn't believe it was actually happening. After all the lies, the sneaking around, the false promises, she was in that office with him again. I kept telling myself to stay calm, that I was about to see her for what she truly was, a lying, cheating bitch. When the Pi finally texted me that they saw her slip into the campus office with Dr. Martin, I felt a surge of rage. I wasn't just angry anymore. I was furious, hurt, and somehow hollowed out at the same time. I stayed in the apartment, pretending to do something that didn't involve sitting by the window with my heart pounding. I knew I had to see for myself, so I waited until around 10:30 p.m., then quietly got into my car. I parked nearby and approached the building carefully, making sure I didn't get caught. I wanted to see her face, her body language, everything. When I peeked through the window, I saw her. She was sitting on the desk, leaning back, her legs crossed as she laughed at something Dr. Martin was saying. His hand was on her knee. I saw her smile, her eyes glinting. With that manipulative spark she always had, like she was enjoying playing her game even now. I couldn't believe what I saw. She was actually there, trusting him, giving herself to him in that campus office, right under my nose. That was the moment I realized she didn't care about me, that she'd been using me as some kind of fool all along. I stepped back, my fists clenched so tight my knuckles ached. I wanted to burst into that room and tear her apart, but I knew that wouldn't solve anything. Instead, I quietly turned around and went home, already planning what I was going to do next. I stayed up all night, processing what I'd just seen. Her in that office, so confident, so shameless. She thought she was smart, thought she could get away with everything. But I had the proof now, and I knew I had to do something about it. I couldn't just sit there and let her keep stringing me along. I started thinking about revenge, something that would hit her where it hurts, make her realize she couldn't keep lying and cheating without consequences. The next morning, I woke up with a plan. I contacted the Pi again, had him follow her during the day, and I made sure to record everything. I also called a lawyer, wanted to know my options if I decided to divorce her. I was done pretending, done being the cuckold. I was going to make her regret every lie, every betrayal. I knew I couldn't just walk away without consequences. I wanted her to see what she'd lost, how much I was willing to fight for myself now. At that point, I realized I'd crossed a line. I wasn't just some naive guy in love anymore. I was a man who'd been betrayed, and I was going to make sure she paid for it. I didn't care if I had to expose her to everyone, put her on blast, or make her regret ever crossing me. She thought she was clever, but she was playing a dangerous game, and I was about to show her that I wasn't going to roll over and take it anymore. Over the next couple of days, I kept my movements tight, my plans brewing in the back of my mind. I had enough evidence now, photos, videos, her messages, everything the Pi collected. I felt a strange mixture of satisfaction and dread. I knew I could end this with a single, decisive move, but part of me hesitated. Somehow, I wanted her to see that I knew, to understand that her lies had been uncovered. I wanted her to realize there was no escape this time. I decided I'd confront her directly, but on my terms. I didn't want her to spin her usual bullshit or manipulate her way out again. I arranged to meet her in the park, somewhere public but private enough for her to squirm. I wanted her to see me standing tall with all the proof laid out. When she arrived, I was already there, sitting on a bench, waiting with the folder of evidence I'd compiled. She showed up looking annoyed, trying to act like she hadn't been caught. Her eyes immediately flicked to the folder, and I saw that little flicker of guilt, brief but enough. I looked at her and said, "Lisa, I know everything. The texts, the office, the damn security report. I saw you with Dr. Martin. The sneaking around, the lies. You thought you could get away with it, didn't you?" Her face hardened and she started to lie again, spinning some bullshit about how she was just helping him with some academic project, that there was nothing going on, that I was just jealous and paranoid. I cut her off. "No more lies, I've seen enough. You've been cheating on me for months, probably longer. I've been blind, but I'm not anymore." Her reaction, she scoffed and rolled her eyes. "Oh, please, you're overreacting. You're just angry because I didn't tell you sooner. I was stressed, okay? I needed some excitement, and it was just sex. It doesn't mean anything. You're making a big deal out of nothing." That's when I snapped. I told her she was a manipulative bitch who thought she could lie her way out of everything, that she'd ruined what little respect I had left for her. I told her she was selfish, cold, and that I was done playing her game. The worst part, her smug attitude. She looked at me like I was the crazy one, like I was overreacting. That made me furious. I told her I was leaving her right then and there, that I didn't want her anymore. I said I'd make sure she paid for her betrayal somehow. I wasn't going to let her walk away without consequences. I took out the evidence and told her I was going to expose her to everyone, her friends, her family, the university. I wanted her to see that her lies had consequences, that her manipulations wouldn't work anymore. She started crying fake tears, trying to play the victim, another game. But I had seen through her for too long. I told her she could keep pretending, but I wouldn't be part of her lies anymore. I stood up, handed her the folder, and walked away. That moment, I felt like I'd finally taken control back. It was the end of the line for her. The damage was done, and I knew I'd never trust her again. I felt a strange sense of relief mixed with the pain, like I'd finally uncovered the truth, and I was ready to face whatever came next. After that confrontation in the park, everything changed. Lisa tried to hold on to her usual bullshit, crying, begging, insisting it was just a mistake. Just one night, just sex, nothing serious. But I wasn't buying her act anymore. I told her she'd crossed a line I couldn't forgive, that I was done. I didn't want to hear her lies, her excuses. The trust was shattered beyond repair. I handed her the evidence I'd collected, the photos, the texts, the security report, and told her to leave. I didn't want her in my house, in my life anymore. In the days that followed, I made arrangements. I filed for divorce and I started rebuilding my life. It was hard, no doubt about it. There was a deep sense of loss, years wasted, a marriage betrayed, all the hopes I'd had for the future torn apart in a matter of weeks. But underneath the pain, I felt a strange sense of relief. I finally knew the truth and I was free from her manipulations. I realized I'd been living in a kind of fog, thinking I was happy, thinking she loved me, but she was just using me, playing her own sick game. People ask if I regret anything. Honestly, I don't. I regret trusting her so much, but I don't regret uncovering the truth. If anything, I learned a lot about myself. I learned that I'm stronger than I thought, that I deserve honesty and respect, and that some people will lie and cheat just because they can. The experience has left scars, sure, but it's also made me more cautious. I've become more aware of the signs, more attentive to the people around me. Looking back, I see all the red flags now, things I ignored or dismissed. But I also see that I was blind because I wanted to believe in her, in us. That's the hardest part, to accept that I loved someone who was capable of so much deceit. Still, I'm glad I found out when I did, before things got even worse. I won't be that guy who gets played forever. What I want to say to anyone out there going through something similar: trust your instincts. Don't ignore the signs, no matter how uncomfortable it gets. If you're suspicious, look for proof. And don't be afraid to fight back. Sometimes the truth is ugly, but it's better than living in a lie. Keep your dignity and remember that you deserve respect. The pain will fade, but the lessons stick with you. I may be scarred, but I'm also stronger now. And I know I'll be okay.